How's it going, guys? Back with another video. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. I do a lot of talks about the philosophy of photography, about different techniques that I'm just kind of, talking my philosophy on. But today we're going to be actually going out in the field. Sarah and I are going to actually show you exactly what I mean when I talk about get close, get far away, get high, get low, and looking at different perspectives and angles for getting your photos. I think this is one of the most important things, is learning how to see the shot, not just learning, your camera settings, learning aperture, the exposure triangle, shutter speed, all that stuff is very important in the beginning. But once you've learned that stuff, which doesn't really take that long to learn the basics of it, it does take a long time to master, but to learn the basics of how your camera operates and how to get perfectly exposed shots, you need to start learning how to train your eye and your vision to actually see the photos. So I want to do a visual representation today, bring you guys out in the field, and just kind of go to a mundane, everyday spot and just show you how you can get interesting angles and interesting photos and perspectives. I do want to touch on the fact that you guys have been hitting the join button and you have been just seriously supporting the channel through Patreon and shares and likes and comments and things like that. And I just want to say thank you. I'm really putting a lot of effort. As you guys can see, I'm trying different studio settings and trying to improve the experience of watching this channel. It'll always be about the information first off, but I also do want it to make, a place for you guys to enjoy the time while you're watching the videos. So let's go out in the field. I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you guys how I see things and just how you can kind of just start to train your eye to see things in a different perspective. It'll help you out big time. Just remember, don't just shoot straight on. Sometimes you can, but don't just shoot straight on. Always get different perspectives. So let's go out in the field. I'm going to show you guys this stuff hands-on, and hopefully you'll learn something. Let's go, guys. All right, guys, we're back. So we are in a graveyard near my house. This is basically just like a 2-second drive. It's private. We're doing the social distancing thing, but the point is I want to show you that there's good pictures to be made anywhere. So we're going to look at some interesting compositions that can be made from things that you'd probably most likely pass over most of the time. Right now I'm using the 35 1.8S, and I'm also going to be using the 60 2.8D, which is a macro lens, super useful to carry around, and it's great because it's manual focus on the Z, so you're kind of more dialed in and getting more comfortable with your camera. So the first thing we're going to start on is this tree over here. So basically, if you guys can see, I know this is a little bit different, me filming in color instead of monochrome, but I wanted to show you guys exactly, what I was looking at. So if you guys kind of see this tree right here, it's pretty. I think this is one of these some Japanese type tree. It's pretty, but if you just take a shot straight on, let's see right here. I'm gonna put it in P mode so you guys can see the exposure. So, there's not a ton of great ways to kind of frame this if you're just taking a shot that's, kind of back. What can you do with it? You could kind of underexpose it a little bit, maybe get some more of the detail, but we want something that's a little bit more interesting. So if you walk over here, what I like to do first is I like to assess the light and where it's coming from. So as of right now, it's about 3 o'clock in the summertime. So, the sun's kind of high. You don't have the golden hour or the really good directional light. But when it's coming through the trees like this, you can really get some good streaks and some good standout areas to shoot. So what I like to do, like if you come over here and you see this, the actual light is kind of coming through the trees right here and hitting the top of the leaves, and then everything else is in the shadow. Plus, you also have the leaves out in front of the back, so you can really get some good separation here. So if I go up and I kind of go on here, so I'm recording right now, I'm going to underexpose. Actually, let's go in manual for this. Right here. All right. So we're looking at it right here, and so what I want to do is focus in on these leaves, open my aperture wide open, and then we can kind of just look and get some really cool separation between the front leaves and the back ones. Right there, you see that? Look how pretty that is. You're looking right there, and you have it kind of in the bottom lower right hand corner, and then you have the light coming through to the camera left, and everything just kind of looks pretty like that. That's one way I'd take a shot right there, for sure. Snap this. So the next thing I do is kind of get into the shade here. We're actually kind of covered from the light, but the good thing is the light is strong, so it's coming in through the top trees and then hitting this. If you come over here, you can kind of see this area, and you see how these leaves are just having certain light streaks hit them. That's one thing that I really noticed. So what I would do is I want to shoot this with the 35 first, but then I want to come back and take out the 60 and actually shoot that also. Let's see what this looks like when we're recording. Oh yeah, this is really pretty. Yeah, so what I'd do is I'd come in close, right into the light and the leaves, and then I'd kind of move around and look at different perspectives on where I could shoot and how to make it interesting. You got to use that light to your advantage and use the shadows as well. You can even come on this side. Awesome macro shot right there, even though I'm using the 35. And look at that. All right, so for this next one, I want to get low and I want to have the sun kind of backlighting. People love to backlight portraits just in certain ways, but you can also backlight when the sun is high. You just have to get under things. So if you come over here, if you kind of look up, you see how the light is just really just coming through the trees really beautifully and hitting the tops of these leaves and then this second layer. Well, so what I noticed here first is you have this first layer of tree or leaves, but then you have this big gap before the second. So what does that mean? That means that you can get some really cool depth of field effects with the backlight if you focus on the subject that's close to you. So right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and I'm going to get really low so that sun is coming through. And then what you can do is focus on those leaves and you have a really nice effect. A really nice effect. You get some sun coming through the backs of the trees, and you can even get some flare if you want to kind of move the camera around. But let's see this. Right here, I'm manually focusing here, so look at that. Really, really nice. And you can kind of just move it around and even come closer to the subjects. Like that. Look at the colors standing out. Very nice. And you get some awesome flares right there. And then just kind of move it around and look for different angles. All right, so we're back with the macro lens. We're going to be using the 60 2.8 D lens on this, and it's a lot of fun to use this as a macro walk around lens. It's great for portraits, but then you can just stop and get close-ups of things, which is the reason why it's one of my favorite carry around lenses. So I saw these flowers right here. If you're looking at them straight, I mean, you know, not much going on. It's kind of a busy background. If you're just going to take pictures of these flowers themselves, you're not going to really see much interesting. There is some light coming through the top of the trees, streaking in from the side. You can see it's kind of directional right here, so it gets real bright here, and then there's so much shadow on this side. So, what are you going to do? Well, first off, what I'd do is I'd go straight onto it. Okay, so what you want to do is kind of go on, find a flower that you want. So if I'm looking at this one right here, you can kind of see, so you can kind of see that there's more light on this side and then there's shadow over here. So taking it straight on, I guess it's an okay, macro pick. It's nothing crazy. But what if I go to the side here? So then this flower automatically becomes backlit. Look how pretty that is right there. And then if I want something else, I can kind of just move under. What about this? Kind of see that angle. Get a little bit closer. That's not much, but look. How about this? So you can kind of just have the flower in the corner here, and then you have all this negative space, but that really sweet flare coming in from the side because you're going towards the light source. You have all this negative space, but you can still see what the composition is. How pretty is that? I like to experiment with different angles using the light as my guide. Okay guys, for the next one, we'll put the 35 1.8S back on, and what we're going to be looking at is a good example of how getting low can make a shot more interesting. So these are just basic. Obviously, you guys were just taking a walk around. These aren't supposed to be portfolio shots or anything like that. It's just to express the difference of looking at something straight on versus different angles. So if we look at this, we have this, we have this normal thing here. It's just a sign. If we just go right front and look at it, it's really not that interesting. See, we're just kind of looking at it. Doesn't have anything going on really. There's some light on it, some shadows, but how about changing up the perspective? Well, exactly what I'd do is I'd look around at what I have. I have these tall trees going on up here. What happens if I kind of use those trees to frame it? What happens if I go down here, get low, and then we have the trees kind of shooting up and this kind of in the middle right there. Look how much more interesting that looks as opposed to just straight on. Even with a nice lens like this that blurs out the background, it's just not that interesting. But if you go on and you move it like this, it becomes something completely different. All of a sudden, you have these tall trees in the mix, it becomes more of a story. And then you have the arrow right there on Cedar Ave kind of leading you in that direction. That's what I would take a shot right there. Completely changes it. See? Straight on. Coming with an angle in a different perspective. All right, guys, I hope you really enjoyed that. It's fun to actually kind of go out there and show you guys some shooting. Again, that stuff wasn't meant to be, super portfolio type images or anything like that. I just wanted to show you guys the power of perspective, paying attention to the direction of your light, and how moving around the different subjects can help you to express uniqueness in a separate way. I think it's really important that we learn how to do that, guys, because seeing the shot before you actually take the photo and knowing where the strong points are for the images really just makes you a better photographer all around. And that's really, once you get to the high level of photography, that's where it's at. So experiment with your angles, guys. Learn to see the shot before. Don't just take it straight on. Use your light in different ways and see what you come up with. So I want to do another community member submission. This image right here is one that I was really I had a lot of thoughts about when I was sent this from community member Dave. Okay, he's been watching the channel for a while, and he wanted to send this over. I assume this is his family right here. And man, what a great image. One of the biggest things about photography that just inspires me and drew me to it is the fact that you're preserving time. It's a time capsule, and documenting your family in this way, these photos are going to be absolutely priceless. When that little baby grows up, or his wife, I assume this is his wife, when they get older and they look back, these are the images that are going to really stand out, just everyday life together. And that's one thing that makes being a photographer so special, is we get to capture the moments of our life in a timeline, and they're preserved forever. So just how it's like kind of like it's a private moment here. It's kind of around the corner. I love how he shot it around the corner. It makes all the difference. If he would have just shot that straight, it wouldn't be half as good as if he has that corner right there showing that it's a private moment. It's almost like they don't know he's there. It's just a great photo, man. And thank you very much for submitting. I encourage everybody else in the community to send their photos as well, and we can go over them on the channel. I love the input, and I appreciate all the feedback and just, the community in general, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. Till the next video, my friends.